So up everyone, welcome to the Power Play with CJ, like I did a few weeks ago with Puck Daddy. I read a Hall of Fame piece by the great Scott Burnside, who I love as a writer, great journalist, great ambassador of the game, on our retired players that could be inducted in the Hall of Fame for next year. And my thoughts on each player he listed. Dominik Hasek is in. I mean, that's a foregone conclusion. For my money, one of the best goaltenders of all time. You don't win 6 Vezina trophies and 2 MVPs without being so. And obviously, the 2 rings definitely help his case. Foppa is in. I think you're being naive to exclude Peter Forsberg. I know the injury short-tailed his career, but you look at just how physical of a player he was, in addition to just how great offensively he was. 885 points in 708 regular season games. Not a pretty steady playoff performer. One Stanley Cup he won. He won 2 cups, but he was hurt the second part of the Colorado Avalanche Stanley Cup run back in 2001. But he has his 2 cup rings. He definitely deserved it. And that's that. Paul Kariya, interesting case. Arguably had the greatest season ever for a college hockey player, but not the injuries like Forsberg, and I can't put him in. I want to, but there's so many guys that aren't in that should be in over him on the same merits. Like I said, I loved Paul Kariya as a player. I think he did a lot of work to help establish not only Anaheim as a legitimate hockey market, but I think his contribution to the Nashville Predators, making them a contender in the years immediately after the lockout, and in terms of a place where high-priced free agents can look at. Obviously, I don't think they've signed a high-priced free agent since, but he definitely helped reinvigorate his career in Nashville and had some pretty good years with St. Louis, but the concussions just kept him from being what he should have been, especially in the second part of his career. Rex, Mark Recchi. I did a piece on why he belongs in the Hall of Fame. He does belong. As a Bruins fan, I can't exclude him, for his contributions to the Bruins at the end of his career. And you look at the way he mentored players like Patrice Bergeron, Brad Marchand, Sagan. Well, he tried with Sagan, or still trying in Dallas, I should say. And then, Pittsburgh, Crosby, Jordan Staal, Gino, and then especially in Tampa with Steven Stamkos. He was a born leader. And he definitely gets in on that. His points, he's in the top 15 all time. So, yeah, he gets in. And like I said, the Cup rings with Pittsburgh, Carolina, and the Bruins. He's in. Jeremy Roenick, JR, one of my favorite players growing up. Massachusetts kid like me, a little bit better of a hockey player, pretty much equally level. Outspoken / obnoxious. I think outspoken is just a fancy word for obnoxious. Nobody likes you, which I've been called it my whole life, so nothing to be ashamed of. I gotta put him in. Burnside has him out for having a bad attitude, but if that was what kept guys out of the Hall of Fame for all sports, they'd be empty. So for the most part, Mike Modano, he's in. That's not up for debate. Greatest American player of all time. Stanley Cup ring, helped establish hockey in a non-traditional market. Yeah, he's in. Lindros. This is where it gets dicey. I'll probably do a whole piece next week on my thoughts on Lindros in the Hall of Fame. 6 in one bag, half dozen in the other. I can't put him in. Now that opinion will probably change in 2 days, but he's just wasn't. The longevity wasn't there for the concussion because of the concussions. I know he played in the finals with Philly, and he was the only one that had a really bad attitude. I mean, Mike Messier hated him. Terry O'Reilly couldn't stand him when O'Reilly was coaching with the Rangers. So, that if you're going to use that argument on Roenick, it's applicable to Lindros. And, the playoff numbers, the no cup ring, and the not as many games, which, again, you can use that argument on Kariya and Forsberg. So, but it's tough. I want to put him in. I just don't see him getting in, I should say. But that's the way it goes. Don Cherry, put him in as an ambassador of the game, maybe, but I don't. Yeah, you know what? I'd put him in as an ambassador, and why not? Who's done more to promote the game through coaching, scoring, everything else than Grapes? I want to put him in as a coach. I don't think he coached 500 games in the NHL, but as an ambassador of the game, I don't, what harm is it doing? Someone that is a polarizing figure in hockey, whether you love him or hate him, you have an opinion about him, which, that's saying something. And like I said, I don't think there are many more names synonymous with the game of hockey, especially from one guy that only played one one career NHL game. Again, the attitude thing can be used on Mr. Cherry as well. But like I said, I just think that the good outweighs the bad in the case of Grapes. Pat Burns. This is something I've been emotional about for years. He belongs in the Hockey Hall of Fame. Should have inducted him 3 years ago before he died. I think that was the final nail in the coffin for me in terms of my respect for the voting and the process, because they knew he was going to die. He had about 2 years to live. They had 2 chances to induct him before he passed away in 2010, and they didn't. And that leaves a real sour taste in your mouth, and it's disheartening. Because like I said, I'm a huge Pat Burns fan, and it's a shame that they didn't give him the dignity he deserves. Sergei Zubov, you may not say is in, but I think between the Stanley Cup in '94 and he's actually in the top 15 all time in postseason points. So how do you exclude him? Chris Osgood is not in. Average goalie, some great teams, and don't use the 2008 Stanley Cup argument on me because Dominik Hasek was, I think, 87 years old, and I think Dominik Hasek might still be playing, but that's a different story. Then he had other players eligible for induction. Doug Wade is not in. Brian Rafalski is not in. I love Rafalski, but he's not in. Housley is in. I've said that ad nauseum. Chris Drury is not in. I love Drury, New England kid growing up, but is what he is. Rod Brind'Amour should be in. I don't think you're as good defensively as he is for the number of years he is, and have 500 career goals without being a Hall of Famer. And Rob Blake is absolutely in. I don't know how you can exclude Rob Blake from the conversation. That's actually one. If anyone can make a counter argument to my Rob Blake is a Hall of Famer, I'd love to hear it, because I don't think there were too many defensemen that played the game as physical and had as much offensive prowess as Mr. Blake. But hey, what do I know? Anyway, that's on this episode of the Power Play with CJ. My response to the Scott Burnside Hall of Fame article. Stay tuned for more episodes throughout the season and beyond. Later, guys.